In Soul Leveling, the system turned Sung Jinwoo from the weakest hunter in history into a god above gods. But by Ragnarok, he isn't the only one. We now have 3 confirmed system users: Sung Jinwoo, Suho, and Arsha, the heir to the Insect Monarch. Each one possesses a different version of the system. Different rules, different limitations, and different purposes. So the real question is, who actually has the best system? Today, we're breaking down their strengths, weaknesses, and ranking them from worst to best. But before we compare them, we need to understand what the system truly is. Now, the system is not random. It is a magical tool created by the great spellcaster and demonic spectre, Candiaru, also known as the Architect. Seeking immortality, Candiaru approached the King of Death, the Shadow Monarch, Ashbourne, and made a deal. He would create a vessel capable of containing Ashbourne's immense power, but in return, Ashbourne would have to grant him everlasting life. I believe that it's important to understand that Candiaru is the sole creator of the system. Ashbourne provides the fuel while Candiaru forges the weapon. Ashbourne supplied the magic, but Candiaru is overall the blacksmith who created the blade known as the system. To do so, Candiaru traveled across many realms in his research. Realms such as the world of the dead, the demonic realm, and even studying powerful beings like Amit, the crocodile monster. He even examined cosmic constructs like the world tree. From his research, he implanted 2 core functions into the system. The first being the ability for the player to level up, and the second is the ability to develop a vessel capable of containing overwhelming power. To help the user in the process, he added safeguards like Candiaru's blessing, longevity, and instant status recovery. He also created instant dungeons, which are isolated spaces where a player could rapidly push past their limits. Overall, the system was never just a leveling mechanic. It was a nurturing program designed to build a perfect monarch vessel. There is far more lore behind its creation, so if you want a full breakdown on how the architect built the system from scratch, comment architect below. But for now, let's break down each user's system. Starting with Sung Jinwoo. Now, Jin-Woo gains the system after surviving the double dungeon. From that moment, he begins leveling up at an unprecedented rate, climbing from a weak E-rank hunter to the strongest being in existence. But there's something darker underneath. The system is not just a tool. For Jin-Woo to grow, it forced daily quests, it threatened punishment, and it even warns that failure may result in death. As Jin-Woo grew and used the system in return also used him. After reaching level 100, Jin-Woo returns to the double dungeon and confronts Candiaru for the final test. The architect intends for Ashbourne to take over Jin-Woo's body, but Ashbourne betrays Candiaru. Instead possessing Jin-Woo, he sides with him and grants him the Black Heart. But even then, Jin-Woo does not fully control the system. The daily messages still remain, and the framework still exists. It's not until his battle against the monarchs of Frost, Beast, and Insect that everything changes. Jin-Woo meets Ashbourne and learns the truth. It was never Candiaru who chose him. It was Ashbourne. He admired Jin-Woo's relentless will, his refusal to accept death. Having proven himself, Jin-Woo is granted all of Ashbourne's power. The nurturing settings are removed, the restrictions are lifted, and the system completes its purpose. Jin-Woo absorbs Ashbourne into himself and becomes the new Shadow Monarch. Now, some may ask, if the system is gone, how can Jin-Woo still grow stronger? That's because Ashbourne's power never came from the system itself. The system was only a tool, a progress tracker, a limiter, and a trainer. Once Jin-Woo reached the required threshold, it was no longer necessary. So now let's go over the pros and cons of Jin-Woo's system, starting with the cons. Now the cons are that it contains malice, it forces life-threatening scenarios, and it was never meant for Jin-Woo's freedom, it was meant to mold him. Meanwhile, the pros are it has a clear purpose, a direct path to become the Shadow Monarch, it has an accelerated and optimized growth pattern. Jin-Woo's system is hyper-focused, and that focus is what makes his growth explosive. This becomes very important when we compare Jin-Woo's system to his son's, Suho's. So now let's go over Sung Suho's system. For clarity, we'll primarily be discussing light novel Suho since it provides a deeper, more insightful look into his system. Now, Suho unlocks his system after risking his life to save his classmates during a mistburn incident at his university. Unlike Jin-Woo, who got his system from Kandiaru, Suho's system is recreated by Jin-Woo himself, and these changes are everything. After recreating the system, Jin-Woo has cleansed it of its malevolent core. There is no architect, no hidden possession agenda, and there's no nurturing program to become the Shadow Monarch. This gives Suho more freedom, but that freedom also comes at a great cost. Now initially, Suho's goal is very simple. Become strong enough to fight alongside his father in outer space during the Outer God War against the Atarum. However, unlike Jin-Woo, Suho lacks a job quest. There is no predetermined path guiding him, and without a defined path, his growth becomes slower. This is very evident when comparing both the light novel and manga versions of Suho. Manga Suho becomes S rank during the Glacier Dungeon arc. However, light novel Suho is still only C rank at that same arc. This is because Suho in the manga overcomes the glitch job quest, defeats Min-sung, and earns the title White Shadow. This is only possible after Suho acknowledges his purpose and sees himself as someone who can find the light within the darkness. Light novel Suho, on the other hand, handicaps himself, refusing to use his shadow powers out of fear that he may be used by the Atarum or apostles as his father's weakness. It isn't until Jin-Woo gives him the approval to fight freely that Suho truly begins to accelerate. Eventually, Suho encounters Antares, becomes his successor, and then becomes the Monarch of Transcendence, ultimately becoming the guardian of the World Tree. Because there is already a Shadow Monarch, Suho's system remains very idle and unused to its fullest potential. It is only by acknowledging that he isn't his father and begins to forge his very own path that Suho's system acts as the ultimate support, allowing Suho to finally live up to his name. So what are the pros and the cons of Suho's system? Starting with the cons. Con number 1, there is no defined job quest early on, and because of this, there is a slower, more stagnant growth without a structured path. However, the pros are that there is no malevolence, there's more versatility and freedom, and access to more forgotten features, such as the pet system, granting bond skills, the NPC system, which allows spiritual body or iron body training facility. This training allows Suho to develop a superior vessel even beyond what the original system envisioned. His freedom becomes his greatest strength. Now we're on to Arsha. Now Arsha's system is the most mysterious. We view it from a third-person perspective, not first-hand like Jin-Woo or Suho. But she shouldn't be underestimated, because compared to her light novel counterpart, manga Arsha is a lot stronger, more versatile, a lot more menacing. It is elevated from a minor side character to a major antagonist. Since Jin-Woo did not create her system as stated by her, it is highly likely that Kandiaru did. And if the architect created the original, there is no reason to believe that he couldn't create one equal to or superior to the original. However, this is where the danger lies. because Arsha's system seems geared towards helping her locate and collect monarch heirs. But why? Because collecting heirs doesn't inherently help her become the insect monarch. It makes her look less like a successor and more like a collector in someone else's grand design. She also lacks special bond skills despite having allies like Ranga and Pia, and given Kanyaru's history with manipulation, possession, and long-term schemes, it's difficult to believe that he would give away such a powerful tool considering how Sung Jinwoo turned out without wanting something in return. So when we go over the pros and cons of Arsha's system, the cons are that there are possible hidden malevolence, similar to Sung Jinwoo's system, and there are hints to her being potentially used as a part of a larger scheme. However, the pros are that there are possible improved features that we see more in Season 3, and she's also demonstrated massive growth in the manga compared to her light novel self. Although Arsha seems confident, and she may seem as if she's going toe-to-toe with Suho, the uncertainty is a huge weakness, and that matters in our ranking. So when we rank the system from worst to best, I have to put Arsha in third place. While her system may be architect created and potentially upgraded, it feels incomplete and kind of glitchy, especially when you look at the system notifications that we've seen. Her heir collecting function also suggests that she may be serving a greater plan rather than forging her very own path. There's too much uncertainty and too many hints of an unknown motive in the background. So for my second place, I have Sung Jinwoo. Now, Jin-Woo's system is phenomenal. It accelerates growth, it provides direction, and guarantees evolution into the Shadow Monarch, but the fatal flaw is the malice. If Kanyaru had maintained control, Jin-Woo could have been forced to kill allies such as Cha Hien or even Thomas Andre. The ripple effect might have caused Jin-Woo to lose the final battle, where he needed the help of Liu Zhigang and Thomas Andre in order to call the rulers. Although the system built him, it nearly enslaved him, and if it weren't for Ashbourne, Jin-Woo may not have been as lucky. That's why in first place I have Suho's system. But why? Because it combines structure with freedom. The limitations are gone and the hidden agenda is nowhere to be seen. He gains access to lost features like the pet bond and NPC features, and although he lacks the job quest and it slowed him at first, once Suho carves his own path, with Jin-Woo's and the Shadow of the World Tree support, he surpasses expectations. Originally meant to be just a successor for the Monarch of Destruction, Jin-Woo becomes the Monarch of Transcendence, the Guardian of the World Tree, and a warrior capable of fighting in the Outer God War. Suho's system doesn't force him into destiny. It gives him the tools to choose his very own path, and that's why I rank his system as the very best. But that's just my ranking. Now I want to hear yours. Do you think that Jun's focused growth makes his superior? Do you think that Arsha's hidden features will eventually surpass them both? Or do you agree with me that Suho's freedom makes the system the ultimate evolution? Drop your rankings in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed the deep dive and want more breakdowns on the system, the monarchs, or even the outer gods, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe. And if you want a full lore breakdown on how the architect built the system from scratch, please comment architect, and I'll see you guys in the next one.